The Eastern Pacific and the Caribbean Sea are vast and challenging stretches of water, yet in the summer of this year, they became the proving ground for one of the most effective maritime drug interdiction campaigns in U.S. history. Over 19 separate operations, the U.S. Coast Guard, often underestimated, intercepted and seized more than 76,000 pounds of narcotics. This included over 61,000 pounds of cocaine and more than 14,000 pounds of marijuana. The estimated street value of these seizures was $473 million. This was not a matter of chance. It was the result of a deliberate, intelligence-driven plan that combined deployed cutters, high-speed pursuit boats, joint naval operations, and precise intelligence. This combination allowed crews to strike and secure the narcotics before they could ever reach the mainland. This historic haul delivered a significant blow to cartel supply lines and served as a clear reminder that the Coast Guard is a formidable force in the fight against transnational criminal networks. The operation was part of a larger, focused effort called Operation Pacific Viper. This initiative was designed to tighten the net on trafficking routes that stretch from South America through Central America and into the United States. To achieve this, the Coast Guard deployed cutters and patrol boats deep into international waters. They positioned assets in areas where cartels felt they were safe from challenge, from the coasts of Venezuela and Mexico to the areas around Jamaica, Aruba, and even near the Galapagos Islands. These were not routine patrols. They were forward combat zones where crews faced weeks at sea, operating under constant tension. They were always scanning the horizon for the small, quick signs of a go-fast boat, running dark with its illegal cargo. Each interception began with a network of intelligence. Surveillance data, signals intercepts, and reconnaissance tracked suspicious movements across thousands of miles of ocean. Aircraft and drones monitored the transit zones, using heat signatures and vessel patterns to identify potential smuggling runs. This information flowed without interruption between the Coast Guard, the Department of Defense, and allied navies. This created a single, clear picture that turned an uncertain ocean into a mapped battle space. This fusion of technology and coordination meant that by the time a cutter moved in, its crew knew exactly what they were chasing and how to cut off any escape. The cartel's preferred vessels are long, fast, go-fast boats. They are built for one purpose: speed. They can cover hundreds of miles at a pace that is meant to leave law enforcement scrambling. But the Coast Guard has adapted. They use high-speed interceptor boats launched from the decks of larger cutters. Crews pursued targets for hours and sometimes even days through rough seas. These were not simple or clean operations. They were dangerous and exhausting. Chases where every second mattered. One officer described the final moments of a chase, moving at high speed with the waves crashing, where you do not think but simply act.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
The goal was to disable the engines, take control of the vessel, and secure the crew and cargo. This discipline and precision paid off in operation after operation. The crews found bales of cocaine, tightly wrapped and marked with cartel symbols, hidden in false compartments or stacked openly. Marijuana, packed for quick transfer, was seized in a similar fashion. Every haul was carefully documented, tagged, and stored on the cutters for a final offload. The scale of the operation became clear when the cutter, Hamilton, and other vessels returned to port. The docks were filled with pallets stacked high with bales, a visual testament to months of hard work at sea. 19 separate interdictions contributed to the final number: 76,000 pounds of narcotics. These drugs were ripped from the cartel supply chain before they could reach communities. This total was so large that even veteran crews were struck by the achievement. They knew that each bale represented countless overdoses that were prevented, violent crimes that were disrupted, and millions in illegal revenue that was denied to the criminal networks that cause instability. The true brilliance of the operation was in its timing and positioning. By stopping shipments far offshore, in deep international waters where cartels felt safe, the Coast Guard disrupted the drug logistics at their source. This prevented the loads from being broken into smaller, harder-to-track shipments closer to shore. Every mile of ocean between the busts and the U.S. coastline was a layer of defense. It kept the drugs from reaching local dealers and distribution networks that are much harder to dismantle once the product is on the streets. The success of the operation was also deeply multinational. U.S. Navy warships provided support in some chases. This included radar coverage, aerial surveillance, and in some cases, a deterrent presence that forced smugglers to abandon their cargo. Allied navies shared intelligence and provided patrol support. This extended the operational reach across a region too large for any single agency to cover on its own. It was this level of collaboration that turned this summer's campaign into a historic disruption of cartel operations. Criminal logistics networks, which are used to finding weak spots and gaps, found themselves met at every turn by coordinated patrols and rapid teams. The cartels believed they were winning the chess game on the open water until the seizures started stacking up. For the cartels, the message from this campaign was impossible to misunderstand. The oceans are no longer the safe routes they once were. Every shipment now faces a new level of risk: detection, pursuit, and loss. This disruption is a direct financial hit. It also shakes the very confidence that these criminal networks depend on to be resilient. For traffickers who bet millions on every trip, the knowledge that the U.S. can track and intercept them anywhere in the Eastern Pacific or Caribbean forces them to make costly changes. These changes include using smaller loads and riskier routes. The increased pressure creates new opportunities for further interdictions. The impact of the operation was just as important at home. The seized narcotics would have fueled violence in cities and caused addiction crises in suburban and rural towns. By stopping the shipments before they could break into distribution networks, the Coast Guard did more than just make a record-setting bust. It removed a wave of destruction that would have affected every part of American society. The crews who offloaded the drugs knew this. Each pallet represented lives that might now be spared. The operation showed a strategic change in how the U.S. approaches maritime counter-narcotics. The days of passive patrols and reactive responses are gone.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
Today's Coast Guard is a forward-deployed, intelligence-driven force that works seamlessly with the Navy, Department of Defense, and international partners. This record seizure proves that this model works. It shows that presence, intelligence, and precision can combine to deliver a crippling blow to even the most powerful criminal groups. For the cartels, this victory exposes their hidden empire. The seized packages show how they move poison across 1 million square miles of ocean, and how they use complex tactics to outwit patrols. These were not isolated loads. They were part of a coordinated schedule that moves narcotics like clockwork from South America to North America. The networks are sophisticated, with different crews and vessels used for transfers at sea to confuse tracking. Every layer of the system is separated, so a loss in one area does not disrupt the entire flow. This is the kind of system you would expect from a multinational corporation. The cartels use a wide range of vessels. They use high-speed, go-fast boats and also fishing boats and modified commercial ships to blend in with legitimate traffic. Some boats looked harmless, with fishing nets on their decks. Others were disguised as leisure craft, with cargo hidden in false floors or welded compartments. Their concealment methods show a level of sophistication that has evolved to counter-enforcement technology. They pack drugs in waterproof containers, sealed to survive deep submersion, hidden inside structural parts of the vessel. The traffickers also use multi-vessel transfers. Large motherships far offshore would carry bulk shipments and transfer them to smaller, faster boats in international waters. These smaller boats would then sprint to drop points on remote coastlines. This layered approach made detection harder and also limited the risk. If one vessel was caught, the larger supply line could continue to operate. This record-breaking haul exposed a system that is as vast as it is efficient. It showed how the supply chain is seamless, global, and relentless, from hidden labs in South America to transfer points in the Caribbean. The operation proved that the fight is not futile. It showed that the endless ocean is not an open highway for traffickers, and that coordinated, aggressive action can remove hundreds of millions of dollars from cartel hands. It also sent a clear message to the crews risking everything for a payday, to the people running logistics from protected compounds, and to the buyers waiting up the chain. Oh, the water is not theirs alone. The operation also highlighted the challenges that remain. For every vessel seized, others slip through. The cartels are watching, learning, and adjusting their routes and tactics in real time. The sheer volume of maritime traffic means traffickers can absorb losses and change their plans quickly. The success of this operation came from intelligence-led missions. By combining human intelligence, surveillance, and predictive analysis, enforcement agencies can focus their resources where they matter most. This turns the ocean from an open highway into a contested territory. Ongoing investigations tied to the seizures have already led to indictments. In the U.S., federal prosecutors have charged multiple defendants with crimes related to drug trafficking. These cases cross borders and involve cooperation with authorities in Latin America and the Caribbean. What emerges from these cases is a picture of broad criminal groups where cartels hire local people for key roles but keep tight control over the drugs and money. For the crews who carried out the interdictions, the human side of the mission is what matters most. Every seizure is a real disruption of the chain that brings dangerous drugs to U.S. communities. Officials have stated that every brick offloaded is a life potentially saved, an overdose prevented, and a violent crime averted. This is a reminder that the drugs end up on streets and in families already struggling with addiction and violence. This historic seizure will be studied as a model for future maritime interdiction. It is a blueprint that shows what is possible when every layer of strategy and execution aligns. It is a reminder that while the fight is far from over, victory is possible. One vessel, one route, and one shipment at a time. The Coast Guard is not celebrating this as the end of the fight. The record haul is a reminder of how big the challenge is. For every shipment seized, others get through. For every route disrupted, new ones are charted. This reality keeps crews focused, knowing that the next patrol could be the difference between another major seizure and another wave of drugs hitting American streets.